appreciate a little attitude. As long as he can give them what they want to see.
Hello, welcome to our fourth edition of CineMarks. I am James, joined once again by Mr. Paul London. Paul, how are you doing today?
Excellent. I'm finally here. We're ready to rock. I'm glad that we're able to get another episode in of easily a classic martial arts cinema, certainly a classic of early 90s cinema, which I absolutely love. I know this is a film that you love as well. It's a timeless classic, and it's easily what I feel the best film in this particular box office draw, this martial arts star. Definitely his best film. Can't go wrong with Lionheart.
Lionheart, Leon, over here in the UK, AWOL, Absent Without Leave, and also Wrong Bet.
Wrong.
So quite a few different names.
Yeah, well, apparently, yeah, Wrong Bet. I was seeing this series of interviews, and Wrong Bet was brought to the production company, Imperial Entertainment, and they put out a lot of stuff, but they had worked with JeanClaude on this, I guess, 2-picture deal, and Black Eagle was the first one, and this was the second picture in that deal. And they said, Wrong Bet. They literally thought the audience was going to think, or they were going to, kind of get made fun of in the press by saying, thinking of going to see Wrong Bet, that should tell you everything, or like, it'll be the wrong bet if you go see this movie. Like they were already thinking of, getting made fun of. And so they changed it, and they thought we needed something kind of that's going to work better with the audience. And there was already a film, I think, by like Warner Brothers, called Lionheart, and so they loaned it to Universal to use for this film, and that seemed to strike better with Imperial saying we could sell a film called Lionheart as opposed to Wrong Bet. But JeanClaude was like, no, this is my life story. Nah. It is kind of based on his life. That's kind of why this film worked so beautifully well. It's awesome. It's the most heartfelt Jean-Claude Van Damme film out there, easily, by leaps and bounds.
Yeah, I agree.
They acknowledge following his story, and that's why it's so personal to him.
Yeah, I think talk about names of the films. I think there's actually a film called Leon as well.
Yeah, the
book came out. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, Leon the Professional, and that Jean Reno stars in that one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Isn't Gary Oldman I think he's the.
Think so.
He's the fucking bad guy in that too. Yeah.
Yeah. So, but yeah, over here in the UK, it's called AWOL, Absent Without Leave. So, but I'm watching I've recorded, not recorded, I'm watching the YouTube version. So for everyone who's watching, the full movie is available on YouTube, and it's titled Leon, or just type in Lionheart full movie, and it's there for you. So Paul, let's go into it. So, some of the notes I will be using tonight. So, for director Sheldon Village, who's done, I think he done 3 movies with Van Damme. He actually done an interview, and I will give this channel a shout out called Viking Samurai. It's similar to what we're doing. He's a guy who loves martial art movies and loves Van Damme. He's interviewed Scott Adkins and the chap who plays Sonny in this movie, and great channel. But he had Sheldon Village on the movie on his podcast and interview, and yeah, it was really insightful interview about things what was happening behind the scenes. So for people after you watch this, check that out because I do recommend it. So yeah, let's get into it. So the opening scene, the title screen comes, and we see this drug deal in which I presume is Los Angeles. We see this one guy snorting up what appears to be cocaine, but turns out to be this is sugar.
This is sugar. No shit. Yeah, no shit.
Oh yeah, so good. Typical drug deal gone bad. They'll never know it's sugar.
And turns out that this gang. So, I mean, you don't see this gang after this scene, but obviously it must be a drug deal that's gone really must be a drug deal that's gone really bad because they proceed to pour gasoline on the poor guy and they set him on fire.
What were you were saying about Sheldon Village, like the films he had done? I mean, he wrote Bloodsport, or he helped write Bloodsport. Then he had where are we going with that? Like, go back to that for a second because that was interesting.
Yeah. So we done. I think he directed Double Impact as well. Which is another film that's up there for Van Damme films, easily another top 5. What was the other movie he done? I think he done 3 Van Dammes, like directed them. Obviously, AWOL or Lionheart, Double Impact. I forgot what the other one was, but I know it's one of his popular ones.
Yeah, no, it's some CineMarks we are.
Yeah, you can tell we're doing it off the cuff tonight.
I don't remember. He didn't. Yeah, because it'll come to us. Because I'm cycling through like most of his hits, and I'm like, no, it wasn't Sheldon Village. I mean, he went on and directed Only the Strong, and that was like, because of the success of what he was doing here with Lionheart. But it's funny because the swimming pool bad guy in Lionheart, I think his name was like Paco Prieto or something. Yeah, he was the swimming pool guy, but he's the bad guy in Only the Strong as well. And so, there's bits and pieces throughout Sheldon Village's filmography where even like the film that kind of put him on the map was this small, I think he said it was even like a student film called Firefight, I think. Had it written down somewhere. But yeah, Firefight. And that had like Brian Thompson in it. And so he had met some of these guys early on, and it's cool. I like seeing that when writers or directors use guys in several things throughout and have kind of a good relationship with them. It's always neat to see them show up in like different roles. And Brian Thompson's obviously in a really funny, weird role in this film, as we'll see later on. But yeah, so we're seeing this guy get called out on his sugar. Then are we at the gasoline where he's like getting beat up and they're pouring gasoline, right? They make s'mores out of this guy. And you're just like, oh my God, he's yelling. We see it all the way up to the point where he yells, right? And he's like, ah! And then it cuts or something. I mean, if we want to go about it frame by frame, when it goes to what, like the desert at this point, or to like his wife gets the notice that he's dead.
Well, he's not dead, is he? He's in the hospital. His
Oh
wife
yeah.
and daughter's there, and sorry, that American medical service. Oh, we don't have health insurance. Oh, well, let's just let this poor guy die. um, Jesus, honestly, we. I'm sorry. I'm sorry for American fans. I am, but honestly, God, I am so fortunate that we've got the NHS in the UK. So for as long as we got it, we appreciate it. But so he's in the hospital and he's screaming, "Leon, Leon!" And then that cuts to the desert in North Africa, and yeah, you see the muscles from bristles, and he's fixing the fences and the posts, and these two army chaps comes up and they tease him with a letter.
Then he does the knife between the legs thing, doesn't he? So like they drive him to the base or whatever, right? And they tell him he has something like yeah, like you said, a letter. But they're like laughing, right? And then he like doesn't he take out a knife or something and like stick it between his legs and grab
Yeah.
the envelope. He's like, ah, and then go with that's me. So yeah.
Have you ever been tempted to join the French Foreign Legion, Paul?
Not at all, but I have been tempted to take a Bowie knife out and stick it between some of his legs just to get my mail, because there's a lot of mail thieves out there. You got to do
That's
what
true.
you got to do, protect your mail. So I'm glad he did that. That's where I learned it. I was watching. So
Oh,
many things that I carried in life and still do. I learned through lessons in Lionheart. It's a true story, man.
so true story. So he goes to the office and he talks to his superior. He's flanked by two other chaps. One of them, Michelle Casey from Tong Po fame, kickboxer, which I'm still amazed that's the same person because the makeup they put on him for Tong Po, it's unrecognizable.
No, I don't think. I mean, maybe you're talking like Kickboxer 4, or I mean, but
No,
I don't think they did a whole lot in Kickboxer to adjust. I think it's Michelle Kesey or whatever,
Michelle,
however
yeah.
the Belgian brothers, they all came over with Van Damme, but I don't think they did much except just shave his head, which he shaved his head, shaved his face, which he's got the Fu Manchu here, and then just have the hair going. But I don't think that they put any kind of prosthetics. Would they maybe shave his eyebrows as well? Maybe I can't remember. Um,
I think there was some sort of prosthetics.
no.
Yeah, I'm
In
pretty sure because he looks Asian in Kickboxer. Obviously, he's not Asian. He's from Belgium, but
well, yeah,
he does look Asian in Kickboxer. Like
because of
I
the tail thing, the hair ponytail, like the long tail, which is like
I, like let's be honest, right? 99% sure we will be reviewing Kickboxer in a not
yeah,
so distant future. Okay, and
of
I
course.
will get the and
Maybe
I'm pretty
three,
sure
definitely four.
I'm pretty sure there's pictures out there of them putting like prosthetics on his face to make him look Asian.
Definitely in part four with a whole different actor to
Yeah,
try and make it look like Michelle Kesey's face. But
yeah.
I'm telling you, if anything, then maybe they shaved his eyebrows so he looked more like a mongoloid, you know. Um, so, what can I not say mongoloid anymore? Yeah,
We
what
got
can I
ready
say?
for good.
Try to best describe him so people can understand it. Oh, like a mongoloid. Okay.
Well, this episode's demonetized, even though we're not monetized yet.
Why? What is? How is
Listen,
that?
listen, right? It's Chinese ready for you know we can't say anything. Okay. Anyway,
What is? But what? Something you said and now something I say?
every time I open my mouth, we get demonetized. So I try not to speak anymore. So, but anyway, going back to AWOL or Lionheart. So we see that he's disappeared. Leon's requesting to, a leave of absence so he can visit his brother who's died in hospital, but his superior's like, no, you're not going. You see that he's also flanked by Billy Blanks.
Billy Blanks, exactly. I'm so glad you brought that up because this would be like pre King of the Kickboxers, obviously very much pre Tybo, but this would be before Showdown and so many things that we really have come to love about Billy Blanks. But yeah, this is the first time you see him in AWOL in Lionheart, and it's pretty cool. And we see him like here in a little bit too during the escape scene, or the escape fight scene. So I think Billy Blanks was one of the guys that they auditioned a bunch of fighters too. They had like obviously auditions for the scenes, but they had auditions for fighters as well. And Michelle Kesey was one of the guys on the casting, auditioning all these fighters that were coming in. It was actually him and Frank Dukes, like
Right.
the actual Frank Dukes, yeah, which is pretty nuts.
The legend,
Was
the myth.
he was like kind of a stunt coordinator, but like an advisor, and a lot of the fighters that we'll see in Lionheart, like the parking lot guys, like that kind of off-brand Bill Paxton guy in the parking lot. There's a dude that he beats up at the beginning that we first see. Those are both guys that were brought in by Frank Dukes, and so he had a lot of help on Lionheart. Funny enough. So it's kind of interesting, right? Like him and Tom Poe run the casting session. But they found, guys like Billy Blanks came in, Jeff Speakman, who shows up just like in a
Yeah.
glance, like way later, in the film. Like a lot of these fighters showed up, I imagine. But we'll see. But that's where they found a lot, all these fighters, but some neat names coming out of that, it's pretty cool.
What do you think to this opening fight scene of him obviously trying to make his escape? Signature roundhouse kicks and kicks the one pole down to bring the tent on some of the guards, and then jumping
Yeah,
spin kick to Billy Blanks. It's a good
he
scene.
does a spin kick to Billy Blanks, and then he like flies out up on like the crates and stuff.
Mm.
It's nice. I dig it. I think it's pretty awesome. It's I saw, I was seeing an interview where he doesn't do the splits at all in Lionheart, even though it's like his signature thing.
Mm.
He doesn't do them because that's how real this character was to him, and that's how personal it was to this whole story. Was symbolic of Van Damme's journey, from Belgium to the U.S. to become this movie star. And it was just really starting to, this is another one of those films like Bloodsport put him on the map. But like this was easily, I feel, because to me this is more iconic than Black Eagle. And
Yeah.
so, Black Eagle is if you think about it, it's a Sho Kosugi film.
Mm.
So, yeah, like this was, I feel, the biggest boost, just because it was a great film as well. It's like a heartfelt film. In a lot of ways, it's a family friendly film as well. If you think about it, compared to uh, other Van Damme movies, like there's no there's no explosions. There's not really any gunfire that I can remember. Um, there's nothing crazy. There's no like rape scene. There's no you know there's none of that. Like
No,
Uh,
it's played as a serious film. Like obviously we've watched the blood sports, kickboxers, and double impacts and such, and there's some comedy elements in the movies as well. But they are very much even like Bloodsport. He meets up with Jackson, and it's got like that buddy thing going. Double impact. You've got your guns. It's a typical revenge mission, and that's what Sheldon Village spoke about on the interview done with Viking Samurai. He said one of the reasons this movie was so different to the other Van Damme movies, because at the start of the movie, obviously his brother has just been set alight on fire from this gang. A typical Van Damme movie or martial arts or action movie in general would be Van Damme trying to get revenge on this gang, but it's not in this movie. Like after that scene, you do not see that gang. They only get referred to one more time when Van Damme's in the hospital and he's speaking to the doctor, and they say the gang's been arrested, and that's it. You don't hear about that gang again. Instead
hold
of
on, hold
him,
on. Let's go back real quick right before the escape scene too. And I'm sorry, but you're making me think like of one of the most key lines uh in the whole film is right as the general or whatever is telling him like you gave up your family when you joined the Foreign Legion. And Van Damme's like, never give up my family, never. And he folds up the letter and puts it in his pocket. Like that to me is such a significant line, because it's right back at him the second he says you gave up your life, the second you joined the Foreign Legion, like or you gave everything. He's like, or he's like, you gave up your family when you joined the Foreign Legion. It's awesome, and so yeah, it's such a power line. But there's a lot of strong lines in this film, to me at least, that gets me just pumped, every time I see it. It's why it resonates with me. It's why it's my favorite Van Damme film, if not one of my just absolute favorite films, anyways.
yeah,
But yeah, sorry, I didn't want to forget that part of it as well, because to me that was a big shift,
yeah,
because it's like he knows what he's gonna need to do. So yeah, at least this big escape, which I felt was a nice highlight for Billy Blanks. At least shows he could sell his ass off, and makes the big escape. They filmed this like out. I want to say it was out in like Nevada or something,
right.
um, and out in the desert. They had to find like a place, which they said like wasn't too hard, but they had to find a place that literally had no buildings within a 360 turn, so that they could set up and kind of build this makeshift little Foreign Legion camp. So pretty much the whole film was shot in LA, which
Hmm.
pretty neat, I think, because they were able to make a lot of it look like New York streets and whatnot. So
Yeah,
I think they did do like a couple of days maybe in New York, but that probably just like those exterior, you know, because he goes to the desert and nearly dies. Like he won't last in the desert or something. Like when they come back because they can't find him, and then you see him struggling and getting through and won't give up. It's all built. Everything is building this Leon character and showing just how determined he is. Uh, it's just so powerful, so strong.
yeah. Well, he gets away from him. Then he goes to the nearest town, I suppose, by the coast, and managed to find himself on a ship. And the guy, the captain, I guess, mistakes him for like one of the crew. So he basically chucks him into the furnace, like, right, start shoveling the way, boy. So he starts shoveling the coal into the fire, and you see the French officers go to, I suppose, some political figure saying this guy's a terrorist. And I'm like, what exactly did he do? Because that was the other thing, which we learn later on. Apparently, Leon takes the fall for his brother. They must have don't know what they done. Don't know if it was a burglary or whatever it was. That's how he ended up in the French Foreign Legion, because he took the fall for his brother for some sort of crime. So yeah, basically the commander says, right, we'll send these two guys, one of them Michelle Casey, and I forgot the other guy's name, but just big barrel-chested guy.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, they're on the boat for a few days, and they end up in New York. The captain says, you keep staying here, otherwise, I'll inform the authorities. And
I thought that captain was Seal.
yeah,
I don't know.
but yeah, Van Damme jumps overboard, and he's in New York City.
Doesn't jump overboard. He dives.
Dives
Like
overboard.
any leading action hero would. He dives. I mean, wouldn't that be it's different, isn't it? Than if he's just kind of just jumps feet first. It's not as commanding and like direct and like
Yeah.
he had to die.
But
So he dives in New York Harbor apparently, swims in jeans, some sort of carpenter's sleeveless like mechanic shirt or something, and construction boots. Makes it in. We see him on the streets. He's cold. Now it's similar to what he was experiencing in the desert, but in a different environment. So it's also similar in that regard. If you see it that way, it's like he's cold and lonely in the desert. Now he's like cold and lonely in the city.
yeah,
Um,
but
there's-
he's trying to call his sister-in-law up, but no answer. So and he's got no change or any money. So well, that's why he can't get through, because he's got no money. So he hears this ruckus underneath this bridge, and sees these two guys fighting, and we're introduced to one of the best characters in the movie, Joshua, who's organizing this little underground fight we're seeing.
Joshua is the heart of this whole film. Like, I think I don't know if you would agree with me, but then that's okay if you wouldn't. But he has probably the strongest character kind of development throughout this whole thing, and so I love Joshua. He has some of the best lines also, and easily just steals pretty much every scene he's in. So I love him, and another great actor. Like, there's the thing, they were able to really elevate Van Damme, I feel, in this film, because they hired great actors around him. And so, I, I think Van Damme is at his best acting, but it's because he also really was able to raise himself to the level that, these actors around him are bringing to the table. So they hired like great actors. Harrison Page, who played Joshua, talks about how he really modeled this character after his father and stuff. So it's part of why that. Yeah, we see Joshua getting the money. He's running these fights. We see the big. I don't know. I just, a lot of these guys look like mechanics or crewmen,
Yeah,
construction guys, and just
blue
guys,
collar workers.
a blue collar group of ruffians and gamblers all around this circle.
Well,
Seeing
yeah,
this dude get.
there's a couple of guys wearing hard hats.
Yeah, that's what I said. Like, it's all
Yeah,
just like collar guys, like, yeah, with their lunch pails and betting on the fights, and, make some extra cash. So who better to
I,
run it than Joshua?
I love it when
Um,
Van Damme comes up to Joshua, and Joshua asks what his name. He goes, it's Leon. Leon, Leon, Lion, Lion. So the Lion, King of the Jungle. So
Well, he kind of thinks lie, lie. Yeah,
safe to say, Van Damme makes short work of this guy.
yeah. I this is the part where he like the guy gets like kicked into the crowd. And he's like, "Ugh!" Like kind of comes at him. He's got some good moments, and that's something that was really neat. Was that every fight is different in
Yeah,
this whole film. Every fight is different, and they wanted it to look different. They wanted all the fighters to look different, and to me, that's surefire success. That makes it interesting. They did it in very practical ways. Like it makes sense that all these blue collar guys would be fighting under a bridge somewhere, deep in the city, and under the hustle and bustle of the streets overhead to
uh,
hide the action. So, yeah, beats this dude up, knocks him out. Joshua's surprised. Hey, Lion, King of the Jungle.
he must be thinking so. Like, man, this kid's pretty damn good. I'm gonna stick for this guy. And we go to a burger bar, and Leon's trying to get in contact with his sister-in-law, and they're eating, and Joshua's like, I know a guy, someone I can take you to. I love it when the burger guy proceeds to try and give the bill to Joshua. Joshua's like, "Hmm?"
Yeah,
And so he's
yeah.
like, he starts giving it to Leon. And while
Hey,
they're talking,
that's very kind of you, man. Hey, I'll get the next one, man. Yeah, just to see
oh,
it. Oh, hey, man. Oh, very nice of you, man. Yeah, he doesn't even eat what he's like. I think he's like a burrito or something.
there's this other guy behind him as well. He's just eyeing up his burrito. And Van Damme doesn't even touch his burrito.
So good. Yeah, they made
So,
great use of
so,
making it look again like New York and
mm,
getting the most out of all these characters that were put in the frame. And yeah, it's really fun. You're right. That cook like kind of okay. We'll put the ticket. It's so funny. So it's got some comedic bits as well, just little things like that. But I think a lot of that's because of Joshua and just this
yeah.
kind of character that he is, which
So,
is really
Josh says, "I'll take you to the lady," and they proceed to go to this building, and
and I need to get to Los Angeles. And then he's like, what the hell's in Los Angeles, man? He's like, that's my business. And he's like, okay, cool, man, cool. Like he's doing everything he can to hang on. He's like, I can get you there, man, but we gotta call somebody. So then, yeah, I gotta make a phone call first. So yeah, they go and head to this big corporate building where we meet Russell, uh, Brian Thompson, who,
the great Shao Kahn
yeah,
coming soon to CineMarks. Mortal Kombat Annihilation. I'm making
yeah,
you watch it.
his name will be substituting for me.
I honestly, to me, Annihilation. I know we're going on a tangent. Annihilation to me is a movie so bad it's good. It's better than the 2021 film. I will say that, hand on heart.
Oh, okay,
Uh,
that might be. I don't know. We won't go
it
there yet. We
it
won't
is
go
better.
there.
It is better than the newest
Yeah,
one.
he's awesome, man. He's like him and Bill Paxton, and I think like the first people we see the Terminator kill,
Yeah,
uh, back in the Terminator. So, but he's a genre regular in terms of
he,
horror, sci-fi. He's the bad guy in Cobra.
yeah.
Like
He's
he's awesome.
he's in a few films. He had a great story when he was working on MK Annihilation because
He's
obviously
trying
he
to squeeze
played.
in, aren't you? He's just trying
Oh,
to squeeze.
we are watching that movie. I promise. But obviously he plays Shao Kahn, and he's up against Robin Shu, who plays Liu Kang. Uh, who I've only just remembered was actually in Beverly Hills Ninja as well. That's a movie we're gonna have to do one day.
Oh,
Chris,
Robin too.
Yeah, he's with Chris Farley in Beverly Hills Ninja. We're gonna have to do that movie one day.
There's
Um,
Keith, I think. Keith Cook's in Beverly Hills Ninja too, I think.
oh right, yeah. Oh
The-
yeah, he is actually. Yeah, we have to do that one day. But he was telling the story how because Brian Thompson's a stage actor, and that's
yeah.
that was his education. So he was fighting Robin Shou, and Robin Shou choreographed all the fights on Annihilation. And he said, and I think there was like a French guy who was the director, and he was fighting Robin Shou, but Robin Shou was holding nothing back, and he would go to the director Brian Thompson and be like, "He's hitting me too hard," and they said, "Yeah, just hit him back." So, and Brian Thompson's a big guy, so he decided just to hit him back. And he said, "At first, I thought I hurt Robin." Robin was like, "That's fucking great. Keep doing that." So, but yeah, MK Annihilation is definitely coming to CineMarks soon. But anyway, so
Sure.
sure, yeah. If I have to do it by myself, it's coming to the
Yeah.
channel.
But he has a really unique face, like it's one of those things where even if you don't remember his name, you're like, oh, that guy, like he has a very, very, very unique face. My friends and I
Yeah,
used to call him Muffle Face because he just looked like he somehow could lift weights with his face. But yeah, so he's they're there to see Cynthia. That's the lady they're there to see, and this is kind of the middleman bodyguard right hand man of Cynthia, and he's like, lead. She's down in the garage, or she's down below, or whatever. Or this is where he leads her to, and they go to I mean, they go pretty much right to the parking lot. It's like full of, starting to fill up with people, right here. It's like the underground parking garage or something.
so the woman who plays Cynthia now, from doing a little bit of research, so obviously in America, Dallas was this massive show. I'm guessing it was popular over here as well, but it's kind of before my time. I'm born in '89. It was more famous early '80s, but see, that's where she got her break from. Was it? She was like a big part of Dallas. Is that right?
In Dallas, yeah, I think, yeah. I mean, I didn't watch Dallas either, but that was
Right.
before the movie. Yeah, um, yeah, yeah. Okay, we'll just say yes.
Go on, man, you're the Cinemark.
Yeah,
It's
but
a,
you're talking about Cynthia, right? Deborah Bernard.
yeah,
Um, this is like if there's a part of the film that was always kind of like, oh yeah, I can't stand this character. Like, this is the worst.
I think
Um,
she's meant to be a cunt though, ain't she?
I agree, and so like she really
She
did a
plays
great
it. She
job.
plays it well.
Yeah, she's awesome, right? And the way that they presented her too is very late 80s. I think this was like what, 1990, and so
Yeah.
yeah, it was very much at the times with short hair and everything. But I just always think like, oh, she's so ugly as a person, and like, just visually, like that was never. I don't know. So it totally worked, and you see it from the moment you see her, she's just kind of like stuck up and
Hmm.
puts her hand out.
So
It's
we see two chaps fighting. One of the chaps, Sonny, or as you call him, the Bill Paxton wannabe. The guy's actually, I forgot his name now. I do apologize, but he's actually a legit fighter in real life.
Yeah, I can't. Jeff Langton, I think.
Yes, it is Jeff Langton. Yeah,
Right? Yeah, that was one of the Frank Dukes guys.
right.
So
But
yeah, I just always thought he looked like Bill Paxton.
but
Especially-
well, them two's fighting, and there's one point where Sonny punches the other guy, and there's
well,
like
hold
this.
on. You gotta go back to the beginning, right? Because he goes, he's like, I don't know whether to fight you or fuck you.
Kind of pretty. I don't know if I want to fight you Well, fuck you.
Well, this is before this.
Wait, what? I thought we were.
No, right, because I need to explain this. So Sonny's fighting this other chap who Van Damme's watching,
Right.
and he punches this other chap, and the other chap's blood goes everywhere, and there's like the smarmy businessman with like his escort or whatever, and the blood goes over her, and it's like over her tits, and
Right.
she
Okay.
gets the
There's
blood,
some
she gets the blood, starts licking it, and I'm like, fucking hell, that could be like AIDS or anything. You don't know what you've just put in your mouth.
They're
So
vampires.
yeah. So, but yeah, so Sonny wins this fight, and yeah, as you were saying, got the next fight. It's Sonny against Leon, and yeah, that famous line what you just said.
I'm sorry. I thought you were right on that fight already, and I was thinking like, yeah, we see him go in and beat up. Yeah, you're totally right. I jumped ahead. I'm sorry.
You know me,
Uh,
I can't help it. I have to do scene by scene. I just can't help myself.
no, that's a very to me that's one of the iconic scenes for the whole film. Actually, I don't remember if it's in the trailer or not, but just the fact that they're fighting in a well for an audience that is that you know maniacal in a way and kind of just like what the fuck what kind of people are these? They're dressed in suits and ties and they're
Yeah,
dressed like really
Wall
wealthy
Street
people, and this
definitely.
broad in here licking some weirdo's blood off her tits.
I think I might be wrong, but one of the bookkeepers who's wearing a baseball cap, I think that's actually Sheldon Village.
I think you're right.
There's two bookkeepers. There's the one guy who's bald, and then there's the other guy who's got shades on and he's got a cap
Yeah,
on. I'm pretty sure that's Sheldon Ledge, the director, actually.
yeah. I know he says that he likes to show up in films of his and whatnot, but yeah, I think you're right. I didn't get that part. I
Yeah.
think they showed several of them. And that's like, oh, that's the underground garage scene. Um, well, yeah. So I don't know whether to fight you or fuck you. Sorry, are we gonna get demonetized?
Oh, we're not
It's
monetized
not
yet.
even. That's what I was just saying.
We don't need to worry about it yet till we get monetized.
Just gonna get.
Yeah. Well, he won't be doing much fucking anyway because he goes to throw a roundhouse kick. Van Damme catches his leg and punches him straight in the balls. That's the end of the fight.
So, yeah, which
That's
is
it.
great. Like that's as close to a Johnny Cage like preview that we can get, even though we already saw it in Bloodsport. But
Yeah.
in terms of kind of one of those iconic Van Damme knockouts, this is a pretty badass one, especially with some weirdo who just threatened to. I guess that's like the closest thing to a forcible sex act would be, this threat from Sonny. So
And
it's gonna
well,
happen.
he wins the fight. Then one of the spammy businessmen is, upset. Get up, you pussy! Get up, you pussy! I could beat this guy's ass. So Van Damme proceeds to go to this businessman. You want to go? Let's go. And they're like, no, 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 let's go.
The guy that's
Uh,
with the girl who
yeah.
licked the blood off her. So, do you know who that guy is?
No, you gonna tell me?
It's pretty funny. So that guy was Lawrence Bender, who's like Tarantino's main producer on so many different things. Um,
Uh,
yeah, like I guess Tarantino was working at Imperial Entertainment at one time when Sheldon Lettich was like going up there, and I want to say that um, that's how they met. With Lawrence Bender and Sheldon Lettich had met, and then Sheldon Village introduced him to Boaz Yakin, and then like that brought him up to Imperial, where he was producing, you know, AWOL, or what became Lionheart, and so he was going up there a lot. And I guess like Tarantino was working there as the guy who would call video stores all over the country and work with sales on terms of, their movies going to all these different video stores and whatnot. But that was like Tarantino's one of his early jobs, working at Imperial Entertainment, and then that's kind of where he ended up meeting Lawrence Bender, who was also kind of like a producer, but on lower end films. I think he had done like Intruder or something like that, which was, also connected inwards with like Sam Raimi and that group. So yeah, a lot of ties like throughout this. But
Yeah.
that was Lawrence Bender. He was struggling actor and producer and trying to raise money, and they asked him if he wanted to come in and do this heckler thing, and yeah, so he popped in there, but apparently he's like, he won't acknowledge it where he
Oh
was in
no.
line. Yeah, because what's her, that Deborah Renard, I guess, met her or ran into him at a restaurant or something, and her friend was like, "Let's go talk to him," because she's like, "I think I was in a movie with that guy like 20 something years ago. Well, let's go talk to him." But he had already been like this big producer at this point.
Yeah.
He met Tarantino, and they ended up working together. And this is like pretty much produced like Reservoir Dogs, and Pulp Fiction, and just all the films growing up. So he became this big player, but she approached him and talked about, and she's like, I don't know if you remember, but we did this movie Lionheart, and he just turned around and like changed the subject.
Wow.
So, but yeah, it's funny, I think, when you see it. So,
Cool. Well, so you're in the limo with what do you call it? The lady, and they decide to get out. Cynthia, and so Joshua's like, we'll always split things 50-50. Him and Van Damme walks down Swan Street to get confronted by a gang. The the main gang leader looks. I can't help but I think I recognize him from something, but I can't put a name on it.
what do you mean? Like, he looks like, uh, I think I know who you're talking about, but he would have been a lot younger, right? God, I'm trying to remember as well, but yeah, he did kind of look familiar. There were a couple of guys that looked somewhat familiar in this
Yeah,
scene.
I should have
Um,
looked. I should have looked on it on Google, but never mind. So
I just
anyway,
love the beginning of it when you see them walking down, uh, and there's a guy that kind of pops out. Let's see how he does it. He like pops out from the like inside of the truck, and he's like,
that's it, yeah,
and like you see the way it's shot was pretty cool too. And this was, I guess, Sheldon Ledge's first big feature film,
yeah,
because film that he did that I was talking about was a Firefight. Um, that was, I think, obviously on a much smaller scale, but it was a short. It was kind of like a pretty impressive proof of concept. It was like a short, but this was his first feature film. So Eric Carson, who's like the big producer at Imperial, was there helping him, and kind of like mentoring him and making suggestions. But he said like apparently it was the best situation he could have been there. Van Damme vouched for him, to the
yeah.
producers. and apparently got down on his knees and like begging. He's like, Sheldon Village, like, has to direct this film. So he was already in the Leon character, full of passion. Yeah.
So Phantom eventually makes it to Los Angeles, goes to the hospital, and unfortunately his brother's already passed away, but the doctor does inform him that the gang who done this, they've been arrested. So that, and like I was trying to say earlier, that's the difference between like any other martial art films or even Van Damme films. It would be a revenge movie where he would get his revenge against the gang, but the difference with this one, because the gang's already been arrested, this is, like I said, more of a family movie. It's like, right, so they'll be
What
on
do I
this
do?
big revenge. What?
He's like, what do I do now? I don't know what to do. I guess I'll go check on my
Well,
sister-in-law.
yeah. So he's wandering the streets, doesn't know what to do. Joshua just keeps telling him we'll split things 50-50. He ends up finding the apartment where his sister-in-law and niece is, and sees this little girl, and yeah, turns out that's his niece Nicole. She's actually had a decent career after this. I found out recently. I know you don't play.
That's like
Sorry,
I always knew her as like that girl in Annie.
is she an Annie?
She has to be. I swear. Like I
I don't think
remember
she
her
is.
being on Annie.
She might be, but no. I know you don't play video games, but she's actually the does the motion capture, the voice for Ellie in The Last of Us Part 1, Part 2, which they're pretty big games, to be fair. If you're a video game player, they're big games. And apparently she's done a lot of voice work in motion capture for like video games and stuff. So she's actually had a decent career after this.
The girl Nicole, right?
Yeah, the little girl. This is like her first film. But yeah, she ended up doing motion capture for Ellie out of The Last of Us, which I know you don't play video games, but for people that play video games, they'll know what The Last of Us is. But as Van Damme's talking to her, he hears this guy and this woman arguing upstairs, and arguing. The guy's like, this is why I can't get anything fixed in this apartment because a bums like you doesn't pay our rent. So he goes upstairs, sees his sister-in-law, and she's not happy to see him.
This might be the first time we see Van Damme interaction with a child
Yes.
as well.
Yep.
So again, when I was saying how they surrounded like great actors around, like they even found like the best of the best in terms of the child, like the girl, I'm pretty sure she was Annie. I'm almost positive.
She's not. She's not.
No, like in a film adaptation.
I've seen the film adaptation. It's not her.
Dude, no, I'm serious. I'm serious.
We'll pretend it is for the sake of the podcast.
Like the Wendy's movie or something. Like either way, the girl who played Annie, like she
The girl who not played Annie but did.
well, whatever. Like, but yeah, still she. We're not Marks for All movies here, pal. All right. I swear, I'm gonna show you. Like after all this, I'll show you the proof. So
Good luck with that. I feel these photoshopped images. See, I
yeah,
told you.
I can know how to Photoshop shit. But she's great, and she plays off of him, and I think that helps JeanClaude play off of her. And yeah, like, when I think about it, like this is the first time we see JeanClaude Van Damme interacting with a child, and it made him, more lovable and endearing, and it's great. It's beautiful. It's beautiful.
God damn it. Yeah, well, he tries to talk to the sister-in-law, but she's not having any of it. She blames him for it, basically, and he
You
tries to
sliding
give her.
money to the door.
Yeah,
And
and she
he kicks him
throws it
out.
back.
I don't want your money. And then, you know, she basically blames it all on him.
Mm.
That he was the one that got him hooked on that stuff. That's not true. I told the cop. Yeah. And then he like gives his reason, and he basically took the fall. Um, and then she's like, "I don't want you near me or my kid ever again." And he leaves with Joshua nearby listening. And then do they go
Eating
eat here?
KFC. Well, he was eating KFC on the car. There's a bit of product placement there. um, but
Product placement. Yeah,
yeah,
it was great. There's some good product placement here, but yeah, Joshua with the KFC is it's pretty iconic in its, you know, in its own right. Like it's he's just such a great actor. Um, yeah, if you happen to find interviews with Harrison Page,
mm,
very different than the character of Joshua, and it's just amazing because you would swear that this is who this guy really is.
mm.
He's just so natural, and I guess he was given a lot of freedom to just improvise a lot of these scenes. So a lot of the stuff that's very Joshua, uh, is him just being in it, you know, and channeling his father, who he apparently only met like twice,
All right.
for very brief moments. Yeah, his dad like was not in his life, but when he on one of the two times that he did meet him, he really took him in and how he was, pretty much all that. Like, hey, man, hey, like a lot of it are all like just things that his father did, but that's the way that his father spoke. So pretty crazy, I think.
Oh yeah. Well, Joshua takes Van Damme to a bar to drown his sorrows and gets him shit-faced drunk. They get picked up in the limo and they go to this big, fancy-looking building full of nice apartments. St. James's Club, the name of the building is. And he takes it. He says, "Right, you go into this one room." And Van,
They get picked up by Cynthia and
well,
Russell.
Cynthia's they're not in the limo. It's just a limo, but it is Cynthia's limo.
Oh, and then he takes her to okay, I thought that later on then, right, is when they're all in the limo and they pick them up. Okay,
Yeah.
go
Now,
ahead. Sorry.
Van Damme wakes up to Cynthia working out in spandex on the old lap pull down machine.
It was like one of those stair climber things or like a ladder climber. This thing,
Did you
it
watch
was
the movie, Paul?
yes.
Well, she wasn't doing that. It was a lap pull down.
Oh, that's okay. That's right.
You've got the fucking
No,
special edition. How fucking special was it?
I do remember because it's like blurry, and then she has like a very V shaped figure.
Yeah,
Um,
with the spandex
so
outfit, what doesn't hurt?
she's hideous. This
Well,
didn't like her.
I was
Nice,
going
yeah.
through, well, I was going through puberty the first time I watched this movie. Okay, so it is what it is.
I mean, I don't think I was there yet. I was like 10. I don't know. Yeah, I just never liked her. So yeah, she's taking his clothes off, doesn't it? Yeah. Okay, so this is iconic too. Is this the first ass shot we get? He's like, "Where are my clothes?" And
Yeah,
she says, "I threw them away or I burnt them or something." It's like, "You what?" And she says, "No, they're over here." Or something, but like this leads into the first oddly iconic as well. JeanClaude, JeanClaude.
did he do this in every film following this?
Shot. Yeah, the JeanClaude bare ass shot.
How many
Um,
films has he done it in? I know this is an odd subject. but he's done it in a few movies.
The start of it.
Yeah,
But they had
Universal
done it.
Soldier was one of them.
They had done it, I think. Yeah. Oh man.
Why am I remembering this?
But he was like thinking of a different audience, excuse me, at the same time, and they had shot it with him just in like briefs, and they had it. But then JeanClaude was the one who suggested it. He's like, what if I do one where it's like the towel, drops, and it's just bare. And, all right, let's try it. Like just all right, and that started this huge trend of the JeanClaude bare ass shot. You know.
Well, Cynthia takes them shopping and clothes shopping, and they're in the dressing room, and she wants the D, basically. And I love it. They're in the changing room, and there's like the guy outside, and he's like, "This, what's happening in there?"
Yeah.
So that was pretty funny. But she's all over him. Then they're having a nice meal outside, but he's just got no interest.
Yeah. This is where they kind of you learn a little bit more about him, but he's trying to keep it more private. You know, he's very guarded with his family, and so. But this is earlier on. There's like when they're in New York, I think Cynthia when she's like, "What the fuck is in L.A.?" You know,
Mm.
and that's where he says like, "Oh, it's my business." And stuff. So he's very guarded with his family. Obviously, his brother just got jumped and burned alive, basically. Um, but yeah, now we're in LA, so he's still kind of protecting it and not wanting to talk about it. But he's straight up with her. He's like, "I'm not your boy toy. That's what Russell's for."
Well,
With Russell, not me. Great.
well, we see a shot of the sister-in-law and the daughter leaving the apartment on the way to school and to work, and you see that the Foreign Legion officers are actually stationed across from their apartment, staking out the house, keeping an eye out for Van Damme. And you see Van Damme watching them. He sees the little girl get dropped off to school, and then the sister-in-law, I guess she's working in like a fruit packing factory, and she's trying to steal a couple of apples at the same time. Like this is a sad movie.
Are you talking about where there's like the conveyor belt?
Yes.
I think it's like it's like a food bank, so it's like for poor people.
Oh right, I thought it was like a packing factory.
No, I think I don't know. I always took it as like she was a kind of like a food bank type thing.
All right. I
Is
thought it
she
was like a
wearing
packing factory, and she
clothes?
was
Sorry, is she wearing like packing clothes?
no, but it was like fruit boxes, and there was other people putting like just these apples in. It was only apples, and he was putting apples in these boxes, and like he basically stole a couple of apples. That's what I got from it.
What? I
Well,
don't know if I
was
saw this movie. Maybe you did see AWOL.
yeah. And then after this, like he sees these poor people as well. This film's fucking depressing. Like
So sad.
sees this little girl, gives her, she's got a bone. Sees this little girl's mother and gives
And
the
they're dirty. Like they're so dirty, and they look.
yeah.
Yeah,
He
like
he offers to give the mother money, and she's like okay, and she soon takes it from his hand. Like this is skip forward to 2023 Los Angeles. Nothing has changed. It's got worse, unfortunately. So yeah, you thought the 80s were bad. 2023. So I'm sorry, but it's true. Um, so yeah,
She,
so
yeah, raccoon. If you think about it, like it was pretty interesting because she acts like a you know a feral creature.
yeah.
He gets, takes it and kind of backs up, and so yeah, it's a great film. I'm telling you, every actor was amazing.
So well, he goes back to the apartment anyway. Cynthia's there wearing some sort of lingerie, and she trigs on fat. He's been visiting. Well, she gets jealous because he's trying to help his sister-in-law out. Like she thinks they're fucking each other, and she gets really upset with him.
Which I don't know about you, but I'm glad they didn't go there with this.
Well, yeah, it's just creepy if they did.
Right. But there are a few moments.
Oh yeah, there's a moment it comes across that way, definitely.
No, don't. No. She's serious sister-in-law. No. Okay, good.
So this takes us to our next fight during the underground parking lot, and yeah, Van Damme's fighting this presumed Scottish guy.
This dance man got on a damn skirt.
Scotland.
Scotland shit. You get Scotland ass.
I presume he's Scottish. He's wearing a kilt.
And again, the look was everything. Just it's why this film is such a standout for me. You got all the cars and they have their lights on. And there's shots of them fighting on top of the cars. There's obviously shots of them fighting on the concrete in the middle. This guy's wearing a kilt.
Reminds
The
me of
music
reminds
has
me
a
of
lot.
the like you might have been on the roster. It reminds me of the parking lot fight between Eddie Guerrero and John Cena. Was you there that
Yeah.
night?
I don't know. It doesn't ring a bell.
It might have been too early. I think that was like 2003 actually, so it might have been a year before you was there.
Yeah. I thought you were gonna say like the Highlanders or something. Like it
Uh,
reminded you of them.
no one remembers their matches. Sorry, Robbie. I loved talking to you. Okay, but I'm just saying it how it is.
I just meant with like the kilt and everything. So
Yeah.
yeah, there's a lot of horns like in this section, like in this song. I think it's like the Celt or something with the Celt, or the name of the song is even um, has a different sound to it and plays into this opponent that he's now facing in this weird underground parking garage with all these presumably these different nationalities or whatever, but these high-end people who won't even get out of their cars. They just turn their lights on, so it's kind of blinding. And he's fighting. You get the shots of both of them, like I was saying. Just it's awesome. He gets the antenna and starts choking him with them, and yeah, I love this
Brian
fight.
Thompson. Brian Thompson's got a big smile on his face when that happens. Like
Yeah, he is.
Thompson just basically this whole movie he's got a smile on his face, especially when Van Damme's getting beat up.
He's just like permanently hard. Like
Yeah,
whenever, yeah, it's weird, right?
he's getting turned on by it. So, but this is a decent fight, and obviously Van Damme makes the comeback, throws a good few haymakers to his face, and yeah, Scottish man's entourage they're not happy, and Van Damme wins. So, but yeah, we see the Joshua goes to the sister-in-law, forgot her name, and little Nicole's apartment, and he pretends to be a life insurance broker for a late husband, saying that he took out a policy, but he kept it a secret.
Oh, right. See, this is like the thing. We start seeing Joshua kind of going from Lisa Pelican and Ashley Johnson. That's what I was trying to think. Yeah, Lisa Pelican, who you might remember from Ghoulies as well. But yeah, Josh was presenting a different side of himself and starting to see where he can actually really help. And you start to see Joshua changing from just this kind of street hustler to somebody who was being helpful and a friend, and not thinking about just himself. Yeah, you love it. You love to see it. But that way, Leon can start getting money to her and helping them get groceries, whatever. And Joshua's said he'll be checking in, so he's kind of keeping an eye on them as well. Beautiful. It's beautiful.
Beautiful. So that takes us. So we got on a bit of a montage of fights now with this happening. So he fights this big guy with gold teeth in the squash court, or you don't call it squash over there. You call it racquetball.
Yeah, racquetball.
I love Americans because you're so literal with your names for things. So over here we call it squash. What do you call it? Racquetball. Why? Because we use a racket and we hit a ball.
Squash is a vegetable, man.
My favorite is torches. So over here we call it torches. Over your end you call it flashlights. Why do you call it flashlights? Because it's a light and it flashes.
Yeah. A torch has like flames or something from it. You know, you're torching something, you're burning it. You know?
Flashlight. I'm sorry. My favorite.
It could be light stick or something. Yeah.
That's my favorite. We call it a pavement. He's got sidewalk. Why? Because we walk on the side. I can only imagine there was a time Americans was walking in the center of the road. I'm sorry.
I mean, yeah, there's a time.
I'm sorry.
You walk down the center. Yeah. Well, I mean, what are you gonna call it? Cement? Cement everywhere. The road, yeah, we get it, man. But they walk on the side.
This guy here, he's fighting. I'm sure I recognize him. I mean, he's a big guy, and
Magic
Bandai.
Schwartz.
What's he from?
He was in Roadhouse. You'd see him in Roadhouse. He shows up. He's like, "You Hawk?" He's like, "Yeah." He's like, "I'm Smasher."
Yes.
He goes, "Yeah." I don't. He's like, he's like, "I heard you were the man to beat." She's like, "Oh, I don't believe everything. I don't believe anything." So like, yeah. So he's one of the early kind of character building moments and over the top as well. So
Right.
yeah, Magic Schwartz, and he showed up in like a lot of different things around that time, but very standout looking guy as well. And this is again completely different atmosphere. It's on the squash ball rack. So it's awesome. And then the big kick finally into the. Well, they tease it, don't they? He gets kicked into the. Well, first we get that awesome body slam smash into the wall. Because like, what else are you gonna do, right? It's like some big dude, so he's good. Like, there's not much surround to like just walls. Like, I'm gonna run it. It's awesome. You don't see him doing fucking destroyers or stupid stuff that a guy, fighting with jeans tucked into his white boots with the mullet. Great. It's great cinema. Great cinema. But he gets teased, right? Flying into the glass, or he hits it and it doesn't break. Or does he? Yeah. And then finally he gets. Flying. And that's some thick glass, man. I'll tell you, man. I don't know how you guys into your squash ball. I don't know about that glass, but racquetball courts, glasses.
Racquetball, goddammit.
That's right.
I love the cutaway because after he kicks him through the glass, it cuts away to Joshua laid on the sofa watching the TV, and it's like Joshua's watching the fight on TV. It's a great cutaway. Um, so Van Damme tells him what do you call it, what he's watching. So Van Damme proceeds to go for a run, and goes behind the car, and he sees his niece, and she's been trapped to a new bike. And yeah, the two French officers they see this guy looking, and they realize it's Van Damme, so they proceed to
They
chase him.
having KFC also? Are they having KFC also? I can't remember.
Oh, let's have a look here. See if there's any product placement here. I've got it playing. Nope, no KFC.
Ah,
Maybe in the next scene.
damn it.
So they chase him, but Van Damme gives them the slip, and we go to the swimming pool. But the funniest thing is, though, when this scene pops up, I couldn't help but think of his cameo in that movie we spoke about, where him and Michelle Casey's in that film. It's called Breaking.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I couldn't help but think of that because obviously that's one of his first ever, extra roles, and it
Wearing
was
that same outfit, the all black leotard.
yeah. So I was expecting him to fight Michelle Casey in this scene, but no, he fights this other guy you mentioned earlier in the swimming pool, and this guy,
Buckle
this
Bill.
this guy gets the upper hand on Van Damme for this fight.
He's like a legit capoeira guy. Obviously, they went like I was saying, they used him as the main bad guy, only the strong. So, yeah, I guess when they were scouting locations and they found that house, the pool was in the back and it was perfect. But for some reason, like they weren't able to get the water out of the bottom of the pool, so they had to be more careful with it in terms of fighting in it because it could be very like it's just a difficult setup if you think about it. Because they're legitimately fighting in this pool and slipping and hurting yourself is a
Yeah.
lot more possible, especially when you're starting off dry. But when they get to like kind of the water part, but even your footing so that you don't even just touch the edge of the water and slip, and you'd be messed up. So it was difficult. Apparently, it was a challenge for them to kind of choreograph it, especially like to shoot it. But yeah, I don't think it was. They fell into the water and they're like, let's go back up and do all this. I think it was just like dry land fighting. Once we're in the water, we're shooting water, and then we're getting out of here. Sheldon Village might have appeared. Maybe he was one of the. I think he was in this scene,
Right.
up above with the hat.
Possibly. I'm sure he's probably popped up a couple of times in this movie. You always get like cameos from actors, but directors, but yeah, this was a closer fight. But in the end, Van Damme gets the upper hand on him, and being the good sport that he is, he dragged him out of the deep end so he didn't drown. So that was nice of him to do so.
He's just the heart of a lion.
Yeah. So Cynthia's talking to Joshua and asked, is he fucking his sister-in-law? And Joshua's like, he's only just trying to help his family. You're cold-hearted bitch, Cynthia.
It's so good. It's one of those Joshuaisms. You are one cold-hearted bitch.
So we go next scene, and Van Damme talks to his niece Nicole, and she talks about shows off her new bike and that, and then the two French officers finds him. They start chasing him, and they corner him in this back alley. And there was this one scene here that Sheldon Ledger spoke about to give you an idea how strong Van Damme is. So not Michelle Casey, but the other officer.
Yeah.
Forgot his name, but I mean, to look at him, he's a big guy, and he's one of them old school big barrel-chested guys.
Yeah.
And they would say, like on set, like how strong this guy was, and nothing would knock him. There's a scene here when he's when Van Damme's on the staircase and he kicks the guy, and he said when we was filming it, it took the wind out of this guy and like knocked him right back, and that just he said that tells you how strong Van Damme is with his kicks.
I believe it. Yeah, that guy is kind of like a, let's say the kind of guy who would like rustle bears in Russia or something.
Yeah,
You know, yeah, I'm not surprised. I'm sure that happened a lot. Van Damme comes from that, like we talked about on No Retreat, No Surrender,
mm.
comes more from that kind of more Hong Kong style where you connect with everything. Sometimes it gets laid in, depending on space and whatnot. So, but I believe
A
it.
little bit of a tangent. Someone asked this question, and I kind of agree with them. Is Van Damme the best on-screen fighter in movie?
I think everyone will have their opinion on it. You know,
Mm.
it
But
depends
actually,
on how
so
you
not
look at
not
it.
not so much stunts, because stunts you could say Jackie Chan, especially the way Jackie Chan does these moves. The guy's amazing. But like as for just fights or even like one-on-one fights, for how cinematic they are, and like seeing the displays of like obviously these big flying roundhouse kicks and stuff. Is he actually the best fighter like on screen to watch? And I'm
Well,
like, it's hard to
things
debate it.
I mean, things are shot differently now, and they're edited with different cuts, and it's
Mm,
I prefer that Van Damme style. So I think cinematically, you know, he was kind of one of the early runners on establishing that kind of style, because now you look at it, it's like Tony Jaa, um, hell, even like Jason Statham, they'll all have kind of like something shot in a Van
mm,
Damme fighting way where it's just like enhancing, and then when it's time for that final blow, it's like slow motion, a couple repeats from different angles, and so was that even really happening a lot before Lionheart? I'm not saying it wasn't, but in terms of highlighting somebody's talent and ability, which in this
yeah,
case, Van Damme, did anyone have more, you know, controlled and beautiful kicks as he did? I don't think so. Not at all.
yeah,
At all. It's not even close.
no,
So, and that's that ballet background, I'm telling you. Gave him
yeah,
all
it's
that
man.
balance, leg
That's what I
strength,
need.
and
That's what
it's
I need to send
beautiful.
my boys.
Yeah. Oh, you're losing your voice?
No, that's where I need to send my boys to work on their balance. They
Oh,
struggle with their
right.
balance still. So yeah, and I mentioned it off camera before. So as we're recording this, my two boys they do taekwondo. So I've got a 9-year-old and my 6-year-old does it as well. My youngest is not doing it yet, but he started copying their moves, which is great. So fingers crossed he might start doing it. But as for my other two, they done their grading last weekend to for the promotion, and they both passed. So my eldest now they've been doing it now for 5 months. My eldest now is a yellow belt with a white stripe. So he's not a full yellow yet, but he's nearly there. And my middle boy Sammy, he's little warriors, so he's like a different class, but he's on his third rank now, so he's white belt with a blue stripe. So both doing pretty good. So it's great to see.
It's a great thing for them to be a part of. Now they
Yeah,
just need to start some ballet. You'll have the
yeah, man.
full combination to
I
make
tried to
them.
learn him how to. I tried to get him to do the splits the other night, and yeah, it's tough. I I've actually watched videos, and like especially like in the Asian countries, how they get the kids to do the splits. No, them kids are dedicated, honestly.
What were they doing to them?
So, so say you're sat down and your legs is like apart.
Right.
They would have someone say sat in front of me, their legs stretched out against my legs and holding the hands, and then you would have someone say behind me pushing your bottom in,
Okay, yeah.
so the legs goes wide, 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 and the kids are screaming in agony.
Oh, they're screaming. They should be flexible though. That I mean, children are way more flexible.
I
That's
know,
why
but
they.
still, it looks painful, and because me boys put on like, how do you learn to do the splits, and they said, right, you need to stretch all your limbs, and they started showing these schools in like China or Japan or Korea. I guess it was South Korea because that's what my boys studied, Taekwondo, South Korean, and man, them kids are dedicated.
Yeah, well, that could have all been solved with some simple ballet.
Yeah.
JeanClaude went through that kind of agony. He probably did. He probably
So
did.
so Van Damme has been cornered by the two officers, but he manages to get them trapped. Brian Thompson turns up in the limo and says, come with me if you want to live. So
So
he's like,
good.
he gets dropped off to the hospital, and he's got a couple of like marks on him. And there's the doctor there. He's like, man, you know what you need to do? You need to study karate, man.
Yeah, because he's got the broken ribs.
Yeah.
You know what you need karate. Yeah, man. Hey, if I message to you, man. Oh, he's like, don't tell nobody. If you wonder about me, yeah, hey, man, I ain't telling nobody. It bribes them into not saying anything. You
Yeah.
know, it's the blood going through is like not enough. Yeah.
Cynthia turns up, acting all concerned for him. Do you think she's legit? Like, she's a
This is
powerful
when they're all in
businesswoman.
the limousine. This is when the four of them are on the limousine. She's laughing. She's like, "Let's get wild tonight," or something like. What did she say?
Yeah.
Something like that. Oh, I can't stand her.
So Joshua turns up to the apartment, see the sister-in-law and little Nicole, and he says, I'm not an insurance guy, and introduces Leon, basically tells her the full story. That's where you get the money from. He's fighting for this money.
Look at him right here, right here. Yeah, yeah. That's where the money's coming from, right there. That's awesome. Come on, man. That's so cool. It's literally showing her.
Nicole asks, is he still a stranger? And she goes, no, this is your daddy's brother.
That's
So sweet.
the little girl that played Annie.
The girl didn't play Annie. I'm pretty sure she didn't. Wasn't Annie out like early 80s?
We'll see about that. Huh?
Okay.
This film's
When you,
1990, man.
well, she was 19 when she filmed this.
What?
I said, wasn't Annie like early 80s when that was
Dude,
filmed?
this is a different Annie movie. I'm telling you. She played Annie.
We'll find out. So Cynthia and Brian Thompson. I forgot Brian Thompson's character's name. I'm just going to refer to him as Brian Thompson. Russell. Shao Kahn. They're watching a film of Abdul Casey. What's the name of his character again?
Attila.
Attila, that's right.
A
So,
born.
what?
That's what Brian Thompson does. He's like, Attila, a born killer. He's like jizzing himself.
It's funny that
Excited
he's got the same expressions in Annihilation. It's like he's constantly turned on by stuff.
He is.
Yes. So Cynthia and Russell, they're watching the video on the tele, and turns out the French army officers are there as well. and she says this is why you can't take him because for this big fight. So they're saying, okay, we'll take him afterwards. Um, so
And it says something in French or something, or
yeah,
Tunisian. Or...
the other guy says, "Can we watch?" Or like, "Can we have front row seats or something?"
What?
Yeah.
It's so funny.
So this is a scene where they get picked up in the limo, and Cynthia's like, "Let's go get fucked up tonight."
Yeah. God, can't stand her.
So they go to this other building, and there's this English guy, and I, I like him. I think he's like a nice guy.
Where's this fight? This is which one? Oh, the guy who's like there's like two of them. There's like two guys who are like
Yeah,
in one corner, like, but they're almost like super marks that are at every fight because
yeah.
they're at the pool fight, and I think there might be at another fight. I can't remember.
Like, there's the one guy. He's got a real strong resemblance to James Woods.
I think, yeah, he's like the one that starts the slow clap later, isn't he?
Might have been him or it's the other guy, the English guy with the grey hair. But there's a younger guy, and he's got a real strong resemblance to James Woods. But looks like they're two major money makers. Well, money people anyway. They're watching their tapes on Attila, and they're asking, "Do you think your man can do it?" Talking about Leon, and she's like, "Yeah, he can do it." So
Yeah, I like
basically,
those
just
guys.
trying to hype up the fight. You see Attila get flown in.
He's also the big Mongolian in the Quest.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and he does look completely different there as well.
Yeah,
he
he
was
looks like Karnov in the Quest.
he was a legit boxer in real life, though, wasn't he?
A legit monster.
Boxer.
Oh, I wouldn't be surprised. I didn't
I,
catch that, but
I
I
think
just
it was.
know two PC bros are there now
Mm,
making big Hollywood picture in Los Angeles, and you know, soon after. Well, this was what, after Kickboxer,
I think so.
right? So
I'm trying to
one
think.
piece,
No Retreat, No Surrender was 84.
right?
Bloodsport was 86.
Yeah,
And I'm
I want
pretty
to say
sure
Kickboxer
Kickboxer,
was 87 or 88.
yeah, Kickboxer was 87, 88. So this was after Kickboxer because this was what was released in 90. It might have been filmed in 89, but it was released
Yeah.
in 90.
So you get Michelle Kesey. It's the big bad guy, and I think he was obviously a more dastardly
Mm,
bad guy and villain, but he had the whole most of the film to develop, and he paralyzed his brother and everything. So that's why it's more so a revenge picture. Whereas this, the real big opposition for Leon is that like the French Foreign Legion guys are after him,
mm.
and that's kind of the main antagonist, besides obviously Cynthia and whatnot. But she's more of like a ruthless, a ruthless villain who's just very cunning, a snake. But he's always kind of sensed that. So
Yeah.
I'll just guy.
Well, while we see Attila come off the plane, Van Damme's at the park with his niece and
Oh yeah, the
sister-in-law slash
merry-go-round little wheelie thing.
he's with his sister-in-law slash love interest. I think there is something supposed to be there, like she's all dressed up, nice dress.
Dude, just blatantly, and
I can't help but observe, and that's what I'm observing. As creepy as it is, that's what's coming across. It
so he's
really is
playing.
coming across.
I'm trying to stay away from this. This is gross.
It is gross.
He's doing the wheelie, whatever, the pinwheel or whatever that thing is, and they're like, faster, faster. And Ah,
Yeah.
okay, that's enough for today. Yeah.
So you see all these rich guys all taking bets. Van Damme's in the back room. Joshua comes up to him, starts playing around, jabbing, hits Van Damme. Joshua realizes he's not feeling great.
What's going on, man? You think I can't tell? What are you gonna tell me?
So this is a question here, which we'll get to later. So Van Damme, Leon, he's gonna take his money and put it on himself. Did he put that money on himself, or did he give that money to Joshua to put the bet on, or did Joshua bet with his own money?
I don't know. That's a good question. That is weird, isn't it?
Because if Joshua took Van Damme's money and put it on Attila, then he screwed himself.
Yeah,
Really,
why would he have let
they
him? Yeah, that would have
split.
been too simple. It could have been like, I want to bet my own money. Oh, okay. I see how it is, man. Like, I mean, who knows? Maybe.
Hmm.
But yeah, it is weird. He's like later where he's like, the whole thing. Well, yeah.
So, like, you don't get clarity on it, but it's just one of the things that annoys me. I'm like, but did Joshua bet his own money, or did he bet Van Damme's money on it? Because if the bookies found out for that, then Van Damme could have got done for match fixing,
Oh, for sure.
and that's a whole different movie. Um, Attila's got there's some good odds on Van Damme to win this fight. So anyway, Joshua's at the betting office, and the chap asks him who you betting on. That cuts to Nicole and the sister-in-law packing the suitcases because Van Damme tells them to pack the suitcases because they're leaving later on that night. And we hear an awesome theme song.
Am I supposed to be hearing it?
Don't know. You said you wrote down the theme song.
Oh, well, no, I was just, are you talking about the score?
Yeah, as he's walking to the fight.
Oh, yeah. Well, like okay, so I guess they were gonna not do a whole lot with the soundtrack. They wanted to just kind of keep it, like they weren't putting any emphasis on it. But then as they started to see the dailies and like really see how special this could possibly turn into, like they actually upped the budget to like 250,000 for the music. So you get some songs with lyrics, but like the score is really what's,
Yeah.
in my mind, a whole other character in this movie, and I think it's one of the things that makes it so endearing. And like I love this film, and the music, it just helps you get so emotional. John Scott and the Music Symphony Orchestra, right? He had done like King Kong Lives, but this is easily uh, his best work. Uh, but it's so powerful. Like I was saying earlier, during the Scott fight, like they use a lot of horns in that song to kind of give it more of a Celtic kind of feel. And so, and then the pool song was a different song. That wasn't John Scott. I can't remember who that artist was, but that was kind of like more of a Caribbean kind of feel to it. And so the fights were all very different, but even the songs or the music that played with the fights gave it kind of an added dose of personality, which I thought was really something. But yeah, this main kind of song towards the end, Wrong Bet, um, just has so much kind of power behind it. But that the Lionheart kind of theme that is used a lot when it's mostly him with his family and
Yeah.
the poor couple act like raccoons, and that's it's strong. It's so emotional. It's a real masterpiece in
Cool. Well, we get to the main event then. So it's Leon / Van Damme against Attila.
So as you're
Attila's,
seeing this, did you recognize somebody at the like during this bit right here?
I did now because you mentioned it to me. So former WWF superstar the guy who ended Ludwig Borger, who ended Tatanka's undefeated streak.
Yeah, Tony Holm.
He also
He's like,
turned out to be a Nazi.
guides him down to yeah. It seems the way they're shooting this as well, you know, it has some similarities to when he was going down the alleyway for the final fight in Bloodsport, but um, still has its own personality. But the feel to when he's arriving makes, you know, it definitely feels like the odds are against him and everybody's in on this big joke that he's gonna lose. And it's yeah, I love the way it's shot. But yeah, we get to the fight, and then like here comes the Attila entrance. And he has this almost like Andre the Giant type of presence to him.
Yeah, big guy.
Yeah, yeah, it looks great and a very unique look too. You know, with like the long hair and the sideburns and ominous. Yeah.
Van Damme gets the upper hand at first, but then his old ribs starts playing up, and yeah, he starts getting back at it.
When he starts pointing at his rib, it's creepy.
It is. Then he starts targeting the ribs. You start seeing a bit of blood split on the t-shirt, and like the two guys you saw earlier in one of the buildings, that looks like they're betting for Van Damme to win, but because you can see him like closing their eyes and things like that, and even the French officers, Michelle Casey's character in particular as well, like he starts warming to Van Damme. It's like, you know, don't fight, you know, please just stay down and stuff. So even they're starting to feel sorry for him.
Yeah, it's a sick fight. And it's got everything you want in a fight. You know, the hero. Um, Similar to a wrestling match, you know, he gets that little shine at the beginning. And once he gets kind of cut off and Attila notices the ribs, now he starts getting into the heat and he puts some good heat on him, boy, let me tell you. Yeah, he puts some good heat on him, beats the shit out of him.
There was a spot he had him wrapped around the throat and he starts headbutting him like that.
Oh, God, yeah.
Then he starts standing on Van Damme's hands and just punching down on him. Like he's kicking the shit out of Van Damme at this point, and this is the part where Joshua's led down next to him. It's like, you know, put the bet on Attila, like, you know, stay down.
Stay down. It's on Attila. The whole bet's on Attila. He's like, you bet against me. He's like, oh, bet. No! He goes, wrong bet.
While this is happening, Attila's just going over to his cat and stroking his cat.
Yeah.
Which is hilarious.
Finger kind of thing wiped off. Is he wearing a ring? I think he's like wearing a ring or something.
Probably, yeah.
Yeah. Stroking the cat, very villain, very, very, you know, he's like Dr. X and Speed Racer. Or no, the Claw. It was the Claw. That's who had.
Yeah.
Racer X, but yeah, the Claw. With the yeah.
So Attila's throwing some
No!
Attila's throwing some jabs and he's still beating Van Damme, but Van Damme starts making his comeback, starts throwing some kicks, and yeah, he poor Van Damme is just pouring him blood at this point.
Don't we also get the? Is this where we start to get the slow clap?
Yeah.
Yeah, one of the English guys. So when he's like, wrong bet, nah, he's just like always the way he started clapping, he claps like this. And he's like, I'm like, what kind of clapping is that? Whenever I saw it, because I'd never seen him clap like that before.
Yeah, he does. Yeah, like
starts
that.
Starts a very, again, it's this whole film is iconic. Like in this clap, this slow clap is no different. This is everything you wanted in a inspirational film. Was a slow clap scene. You know, that's why it's parodied in movies.
even Michelle Casey, one of the French officers, he starts clapping. The other one's just looking at him, it's like, what the fuck are you doing?
Yeah. It's so good. It's so good.
Fandom hits a big jumping roundhouse kick, and Michelle Casey, I love Michelle.
With Joshua yelling,
Michelle Casey's like,
huge
yes.
music goes like kind of huge, just like
Triumphant
victorious,
sounds.
upbeat,
Yeah.
yeah, it's some trumpet. Dun, yeah, it's perfect. This is a perfect film.
Oh
This is a
yeah,
perfect.
and kicks him essentially over the barricades. A few roundhouse kicks, punches,
Well,
and
Russell's like, "Yeah, you big motherfucker," and then JeanClaude nails him. And he has one of the best knockouts. Just with his eyes open.
yeah.
God, can't stand him in this film.
Oh,
That's the best part. He knocked out with his eyes open.
and yeah, he's beating Attila. Attila's there, so people saying, finish him, but he refuses to do so. Cynthia's
Yeah,
breathing really hard, and her tits is going like this.
yeah.
So, nice.
Man,
Uh,
falls into Michelle Casey. It's okay, Leon. Time to go home. So apparently, yeah, I think I can't tell if it's the guy who gets. So the fight's over. He won. It's lovely. Cynthia tries to sneak out of the mansion, and she owes money or something, and they're like, "Get that bitch back on the property," or something. She's trying to sneak out of the limousine. I can't tell if it's the guy with the walkie-talkie. Somewhere right in here is Jeff Speakman from
right. Perfect
Perfect
weapon.
Weapon.
Yeah.
Yeah, Tempo Master. He's got a dojo in Santa Fe
Right.
that I would always drive by when I'm up there. So, yeah, this was before Perfect Weapon, so this is one of his early looks. So I can only gather that he was also one of those guys that was found in these auditions for fighters. Um, but they only had so many fight scenes, obviously, so they probably put a lot of these guys too here and there, because this was not. Yeah, so this would have been well before Ludwig Borga.
Oh yeah, Ludwig Borger was
Like
92,
94.
93, 94
No,
even.
yeah, like 93, 90. I think he was like 93.
Yeah, 93,
Or,
94 was, so yeah, definitely before. But
yeah.
but Joshua says sorry, sorry I doubted you basically, and Fandom just forgives him, gives him a hug.
You definitely got heart, Lionheart. Don't ever lose it, because you never get it back. Take it from me. I've been there, man.
And
The biggest heart, I tear up every time, like right at this part too, because he's talking about, without heart, you ain't got nothing, you know what I mean? And he's like, I know, I think, and he's just, and this is to me the strongest scene in the film between
yes,
Joshua and Leon here. It's definitely the most powerful scene in the film.
hmm.
Uh, so yeah, it's powerful stuff, man. We're
Oh
talking
yeah, this.
high here.
So this is probably the saddest part of the film. So they let him go to the apartment to say his goodbyes. And there's little Nico, and he's saying, Joshua's gonna look after you essentially, and I'm gonna go away. And she's crying, saying, "It's not fair. It's
You'll
not
have
fair."
to go without me, okay? Here, this will help you.
No, why? You have to go with us. You have to. It's not fair. Why can't you go? It's not fair. It's not fair.
I know life is not too fair.
And I'm like, "Oh man, that's horrible."
You think that's the saddest part of it? It is pretty sad, yeah, but it's
especially when
temporary.
it's yeah, but you don't know till you watch unless you've watched the film. You know what I mean? You think
No, the
he is
little girl
going
that
away,
played, little girl that played Annie,
not the little
like
girl that played Danny.
crying. Yeah, like she's. Yeah, it is sad. It is sad. I don't know. I think that raccoon couple, like the homeless people, I think that's
Yeah,
kind of that's all. That's contender as
yeah.
well. But it is sad seeing the little girl who played Annie crying and not understanding why Leon has to leave. But it's weird, right? Because they go down like, so they put him in the back of the car. He's getting, you know, taken back to the desert, presumably, and they stop like a block away. And like,
Good luck.
good luck. And they let him go. So they didn't get a call or be okay. I mean, it's you know,
Well, yeah,
why freak the little girl who played Annie out like that and scare her if you know you're not going to take him in at all.
I think they changed their mind when they saw how she acted. It was like, yeah, we can't do this. Like when you can't say no to a little child, especially if they're crying, especially when they allegedly play Annie.
But yeah, that little girl, she played Annie and she's crying. I get no, we gotta let him go. That's probably what happened. So
I love
yeah,
the fact that everyone watching this now is going to start googling. Did she play Annie?
I'm pretty sure. I'm pretty. I
She didn't, Paul. She didn't. I will say it to you now. She didn't.
Ashley Johnson, man, she still acts. I think she must. She's not. All right.
Well, she's still looking out the door, and then also running over the hill, she sees Leon.
Leon!
Hey, man, what the hell? Hey, what?
And
Yeah,
she
hobbling
runs
up
over.
the street, and
She
then
starts to.
Joshua comes out last. Like you could tell, he was like in the
Hmm.
crapper and like that. And he's like, "What's going on?" Like the way he's like coming out last, that he sees it and runs.
Well, I think
What?
his plans got fucked up. I think he was going to start moving on the sister-in-law.
Yeah, yeah. He was like pretending to take a nap in the back room. Yeah, no, it's, but again, the music, it has the huge burst of joy um, when they unite in the middle of this street. So, you know, what would
So,
you do if you witnessed this if you were at home right now and you heard this commotion outside, and, you looked out and you saw a French Foreign Legion trained guy who looks like a street fighter uniting with what you can only imagine is his family. One being a little girl who would play Annie, the other being the mom from the mom from Ghoulies. So
I've never seen Ghoulies, so
what?
I've never seen it. So I don't know what
Ghoulies?
you're talking about.
Oh my god. Okay. Well, Ghoulies we're gonna have to obviously cover.
Well, that's going to be
This.
week 6. So, so
Yeah.
but so that's Lionheart. Great film. They did try to make a sequel to it. Um, Sheldon Village spoke about it. One of the ideas that they had was that the gang who killed the brother eventually got released, and little Nicole was now a reporter, and she was looking into it, like finding out why her father died and things like that. And one
She
thing
goes
leads
on
to an
Annie, and then
yeah,
modern day play.
yeah. She was on stage as Annie. That was a
Why
cover.
didn't that in part two? Why did it fall through? Just they couldn't get investors for it.
Yeah, and, like different people owns different rights to his movies. I think I've mentioned
Okay.
it. Van Damme's always said that his one regrets that he hasn't got a franchise.
Yeah.
Because when you think of Van Damme, you just think of all these films. But whenever they've made sequels, I think Lionheart's probably one of the few films that didn't get a sequel. That and Double Impact.
Yeah.
But his other big films, Bloodsport and Kickboxer, No Retreat, No Surrender, even they all had sequels. But
Yeah, Universal Soldier.
Universal Soldier, well, I mean, he did star
That
in a
would have been the
couple.
most likely to be a franchise, I think. Would have been Universal Soldier.
Yeah, I suppose that's the closest thing he's got to a franchise. Thinking of it, but yeah, it's getting the funding, it's getting things into place. Like that Sheldon Village said, it's so easy to come up with scripts for an idea, but it's getting the money, it's getting the rights, it's getting all these things into place. He says it's so hard. He said you don't understand how many films like don't go through, and they've got the best scripts in the world, but they still can't make it to screen. So, but yeah. So as for Lionheart, I think you've said many times, and tonight you've said Lionheart is your favorite Van Damme movie.
I mean, it's seriously, it's the one that gets an emotional reaction out of me every time I see it. You know, from a combination of the story to the acting, and definitely to the score. I just think it's fantastic. Like just head and shoulders above anything else that he's done. He's done great stuff, obviously, like we Bloodsport, and Kickboxer, and Double Impact. I mean, Universal Soldier and Time Cop, you know, which is like his highest grossing film, which could also have been a franchise.
Yeah,
But you know,
they done it number two, didn't they? Who was in it?
uh, the guy who played Bruce Lee in the Legend.
Ah, Jason Scott Lee.
Yeah, Jason Scott.
Yeah,
I think Harry Silver, like Thomas Ian Griffith, also is in one or like two
one.
or three or something. Yeah,
Right.
see that one, the Berlin Decision. But that could have been a franchise too. I mean, even like Sudden Death could have been. Well, maybe Sudden Death would have been a franchise, but he was
Double
doing these big
Impact.
blockbusters. Yeah, Double Impact. It's probably why he did Street Fighter too, or Street Fighter, because you know that it already was a big franchise, and
Yeah.
agreeing to do a film like that, I can only imagine part of it is you feeling like it's a shoe-in that it's going to be a blockbuster just because it's already a successful video game, but clearly that wasn't the case. It
I've
became
I've
extremely
heard some.
popular for all the
I've
wrong
heard some.
reasons.
I've heard some crazy stories from the set of that movie. So
Hopefully, we'll cover it at some time. We'll talk about it and we'll force ourselves to watch it at some time.
yeah.
So,
But no. So that's episode
I
4 of CineMarks in the books.
love this film so much. And I highly recommend it. If no one's seen it, please do yourself a favor and check out Lionheart. It's
Available on
and
YouTube.
yeah, it's as real as JeanClaude Van Damme as you'll ever see outside of like JCVD or in-depth interviews on it. It's fantastic stuff.
Cool.
And it's good that
Well,
there isn't a sequel. Why add on to it, right?
we'll make it. We'll make it happen one day. He's
Okay,
still like he's still in great shape. We can make it happen. But now, everyone, thank you for watching this. Sorry for the delay from the previous episode. Me and Paul's just been really busy, unfortunately. But we're gonna try stuck in the desert. But we're gonna try and get these episodes out a bit more frequently. But we've just got so many other things we're working on. But hopefully you enjoy this. If you're listening audio version, then you can watch this on YouTube. And if you watch us on YouTube, you can actually listen to us podcast form as well. But thank you for the support you've given us up to now. And if you've enjoyed this episode, please like and subscribe, and you can follow us on Instagram and on Twitter to keep up to date with when the next episodes are coming out. And yeah, before we go, Paul, have you got anything to say to our great fans out there?
I just want to say thank you as well for y'all's patience and sticking with us as we're building this and figuring it out along the way. And so we read your comments and suggestions that y'all make, and none of it's ignored. So we appreciate y'all's faith in us. Hope you're entertained by what you there, which is really just a bunch of marked out bullshit trivia, right? But it's pretty cool stuff. So our marks for this stuff.
There we go. All right, everyone. Thanks again, and we'll catch you in the next one.